There you are. There you are. You made it. Hey, it's a little loud in here right now because it is coming a flood. And I do mean flood outside. Like it is coming down out there. So if I have a hard time hearing, it is because this tin roof is just it's beating down on it today. So if y'all can hear it, I'm sorry, but it don't look like the mic's picking it up. I think the filters are getting it, but just in case.
Yeah, there's maybe just a very faint, like background noise.
Yeah, if it gets too annoying, let me know. I can crank the filters up, but I don't want to.
No, it's not.
Start sounding too mousy because you know that filter make you start sounding mousy if you ain't careful.
Yeah, it's actually we've had some storms moving through, and luckily here it's not as bad. Over where my model airplane field is, they've got a flash flood watch going on, or warning actually right now. So I don't know how that's faring, but I didn't want to get wet, and I figured it'd be loud out there. Get some thunder and everything going by. So I've been working in the basement most of the day anyway. So I figured I'd just stay down here today.
Yeah. But yeah, hopefully it ain't too bad. It's gonna have to come up about from my house to the creek. The creek would have to come out of the banks about 100 feet before it gets to me. So I think I'm okay as far as flooding goes. And the fact that I'm on that, it could wash the dirt out from under my house. That is a possibility because the sand dune and all. But so far, it's I don't see the hill sliding down through there, so I think we're good. The porch is starting to get a little wet because like the water will run down the hill and it'll just like right here around the shop. If I ain't careful, it'll try to like get up on my porch out there, but because it's kind of like tapered. So if it gets to flowing too much, it'll come up on the porch a little bit. But I think we'll be good. I think it'll work out. So what all you been up to over there today? I see you got your Bamboo Lab A1 over there doing the wiggle. What you working on?
Yeah, I got that running. It's just doing another chunkable. This one's Captain America one. So
Cool.
Partially I've been down here working on stuff and figured, hey, might as well throw one on there. I also have some I was trying to organize some things, and I was going through my rolls of filament, and okay, I've got too many individual rolls of is it enough? So
Yeah.
trying to go through a few of those just to pare down a few rolls. But also I subscribe to him at a membership for five downloads a month, and I'm halfway through the month and I think this is my second download. I haven't even printed. I don't remember what the other one is I bought, but yeah. So printing those out. As a matter of fact, the one is just finishing, so I'll have to switch the plate, get to the last color here right after this.
Yeah, cool. On that, Alex has a question. Says, what 3D printer would you recommend to start with a budget of around $500? And you've had more experience with different brands than I have per se.
Yeah.
So I'm a little biased, but it's just because I found something that works for me, and I don't want to change it.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you don't mind the politics of the company, because they do seem to annually find something to really. I think maybe it's just good marketing. They're going to make a controversy.
Yeah, that's like these movie stars that get arrested. I mean, they're just trying to become relevant again. You know what I mean? They just go out and hey, let me get in the newspaper.
So yeah, it's the Bamboo Lab series. You mean even sub $500? You can get the A1 with AMS for under $500. And that's, for typical indoor stuff, or for PLA, maybe a little bit outdoor stuff with PETG. It's pretty decent. If you get some taller items, because it's a bed slinger, that might cause you might see some issues there. And then outside of there, I think they even still have, if you're looking in that $500 range, I almost want to say their P1S is still available. And it might be right around that price point. Yeah,
The other day because I saw them when I was. It's $399. Just the machine, I think.
The AMS, it is $600. So if you don't need the AMS, then yeah. I'm hearing myself through you. Yeah. Okay, that's gonna be weird.
It's $399 just for the machine and the combo with the AMS, which is probably what I would do is the $549.
But outside that brand, the I've played with a couple others recently. There's the FlashForge 85X, and that's a multi-filament but open frame printer. That's decent. It's got just a slightly smaller work area, but it's a good budget printer if you want the single head multi-filament. Now they are just launching their Creator 5. Any of those multi-head units are going to bump you above that $500 though. So they've got that. I've also recently had a video on the Anycubic Cobra S1 with AMS. That's going to be in there around that $600 as well. I did just set that up again. I was getting it loaded up on my wife's computer, and it's kind of funny. I haven't run it in a few weeks, and it's printing fine. I did a calibration cube to make sure the slicer was, I had copied all the settings and everything looked fine. It's got more fan noise. It's just sounds a little cheaper, but it does work. But I will say, and I addressed this in my review video, is I had to do more manual calibration of the printer before it would work really well.
Yeah.
Some people have also put in there Centauri Carbon, another nice option out there from Elegoo. So that's one I haven't had direct experience with, but some of the people that we that are here in the channel and we follow with some friends have been enjoying those as well. So, but the mainstay of mine are still the Bamboo printers as far as ease of use. It's just they're kind of going through some stuff where they're trying to they want to keep their stuff closed. They want to keep them locked down, and they're now being it sounds like there's a lawsuit that they're breaking their open source license for the software with what they've done. So, they're being they're trying to protect themselves, but they're kind of bending the rules or breaking the rules a bit. And both for people who want an open experience or they want a company that isn't trying to control everything, might not be your cup of tea, but it tends to be one of the easiest to get started with.
Yeah, I will say I've had my experience with the Ender 3 that I kept upgrading and tweaking and upgrading and tweaking, and it was still batting about 70%, I guess, on successful prints. And since I've got into Bamboo, it's just I'm good with it. Like I want something that I can hit the button and it prints. It doesn't have to have me babysitting it. It doesn't have to have me adjusting it constantly. And so far, that's what I've got. So I like them. Not saying that other machines out there can't do the same, but I've got experience with these, and I'm gonna stick with it. So I've got two of them over there running as we speak. I got a router bracket on that one being printed, and then I got a sign from my folks over at Cog Hill on that one being printed. And I'm not sure which one I've got mapped right now. Okay, that's the X2D, and that is printing Bamboo Lab PLA metal. Camera's wanting to be weird. That is printing Bamboo Lab PLA metal, which has got a cool finish when it prints. So yeah, that one's finishing up, and I've got the other one printing a sign, but that's the one that I've got streaming right now. Let me see if it'll let me swap it mid project. So there's the P2S. Let's see if it'll let me. I'm going to turn the camera off. Now go back to it. It should swap. Yeah. That one's currently purging. It's swapping from green filament over to white. This is a sign that I'm making for Cog Hill, and that's bamboo PETG, and this is on the P2S. So it's doing a little bit of filament purge. This is a 2-color project, but the way that I like to do mine is basically when I designed this in Fusion, I designed the green as the base layer, and then the text and the border are going to be white. So that way it's not swapping back and forth. It does one color swap in the job, and that's it. So that's what I've been working on there today. I've actually worked on several things, but that's the current print job that I'm doing. I'm trying to just log some hours on the X2D because, like I said, I haven't had it that long. But so far, it's the P2S with a few pretty significant upgrades as far as like build volume and size and all that. So I'm happy with it so far. I like the fact that the build plates are interchangeable. But I have found that using the textured PEI plate, that the release, even with PETG, ABS, ASA, all these different materials, the release from the print surface, it just is flawless. It doesn't stick like my P2S and my A1. I was having some issues with the PETG being a little too adhering, just a little too much in certain spots, but not as much with the X2D. I don't know if it's got a little bit better, bed heating, monitoring, calibration. I don't know exactly what's going on with that, but I haven't had any of my prints stick so far. So really, really digging that.
Do you want to answer this question?
Oh, Diamond State says, are any of you running separate Wi-Fi routers and networks from your home Wi-Fi network? And if so, why? Well, when you say separate, I would not say it's separate. My main gateway is in the house. I have a wireless access point in the house. My main router is in the house. And then from there, I have 2 Cat 6 direct burials ran out here to the shop. And I have a unmanaged switch as well as another router with dual band Wi-Fi out here. But these are actually set to serve the other one. So these aren't like standalone. They're just basically an extension of the network. And the reason I did that is because I like to, one, have better Wi-Fi signal inside the shop because, it doesn't reach all the way out here from the house. So I've got 2.4, 5 gigahertz, and was it 6G, the latest that they come out with out here in the shop, as well as I've got 1 gig of internet on the wall, on the hard lines. So, but everything runs back into my main router inside the house, which is where the actual internet connection comes from. But my main reason for doing it is because I ain't want to pay for 2 internet connections, especially when I got a gig of internet. So, both the house and the shop runs off the same one. But I don't have it like subnetted or anything like that. And I probably need to go back and redo it and set up an IoT network, but I didn't start it out that way. And so I would have to go back. If I ever do like majorly overhaul everything, I probably will. But currently I'm just, I've got everything named on a network and all that. So kind of keep them in their own little sandbox. But other than that, no.
Yeah, I've got, separate SSIDs for certain things. And some of that's more of, certain IoT type devices don't like being on a mixed 2, 4, or 5 gigahertz network. So some of them have to be on that. And, if people come over, it's nice to have something separate for them. But generally speaking, I know what's on my network and I trust it because I'm putting it on there. That being said, my middle child is in trade school right now for computer networking, and so he has his own router that I set up and said you can use everything you want behind this. But yeah, so yeah, I don't feel the need. More so, I'm trying to protect guests and such from my stuff than worrying too much about separating personal home stuff from workshop stuff.
Yeah. Well, see, I do a lot of file sharing and everything. I've got a drive that's inside the house that I do a lot of file share to. It's kind of a secondary location. So I kind of need to have the everything here needs to be on the same IP range just to make that a little more fluid when it comes to who can access what, because that way the same credentials that I use out here to access those shared drives are the ones that I use inside the house, and I'm not having to create different usernames for different networks and all that kind of crap. So yeah, but I like it. It works. I haven't had any problems in quite a while now as far as my network stuff goes. But I've got everything out here surge protected. I don't have the network out here on a battery full time per se, because where it's at, it's kind of inconvenient to try to mount a heavy battery up there because it's on the wall above my door. But I do have a battery that I could, if power did go out, I could connect it and run everything off of it over there.
Yeah, Chris, you're right. They're trying to lock down more of the networking side and the cloud services, and not so much the slicer functions. So, and I get it. I mean, there are people that want full access and ability to make changes, hack, do what they want with it. And some of them tend to be vocal.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of what I've heard is their network resources that they've got built into it, as far as the Maker Lab stuff, is they want to try to keep that to, their customers, which it's kind of like if you go into a restaurant just to use the bathroom, they get a little mad about that. You're using resources and not contributing. So I think that's kind of a driving force behind some of it. But I don't get into all that. Like I said, I wanted a printer that works. I got a printer that works. They can hash that out in court. That's what courtrooms are made for.
The Three Dog says, I'm enjoying my Snapmaker U1. I keep looking at that one. And, FlashForge has kind of teased me a few times, but then they kind of go dark.
Yeah.
Because I don't, my thing is, I don't do a lot of multicolor prints. And part of that is because of the time and the waste. So I don't necessarily feel like I need to replace any of the ones I've got with it. But I would love to play around with it and see what you can do. And it would be nice to have that option. So I've been looking at that Snapmaker. And if no other opportunities present themselves by this winter, I imagine I'll be making a choice of probably purchasing one to play around with as things get colder. And so that's kind of on the top of my list right now, that one right there.
Yeah. If you're doing a lot of color stuff, the multi-tool things are definitely going to be the way to go for that. I don't do a lot of multiple color. I do, like I said, I do layered colors, which layered colors aren't that big of a headache because, like I said, you have one transition and then it prints the rest of the design. But you can't always do that with some of the things on the market if you print those. So yeah. I don't know. Right now, I'm good and I'm running short on space, so I'm just gonna stick with what I got for the moment. So
Alex is asking, how does Bamboo do with filament that's not their brand? And So far, I've had pretty good luck. In matter of fact, they have some brands built into their slicer that you can just load the profile. Other brands create profiles you can import, or they give you kind of the settings to create a profile. And as long as you kind of keep that straight and remember to make those changes when you set up add your filament and set it to that. I've not really run into anyone that I really struggled with. Some definitely work better than others. But I've been trying more and more. We've got a local 3D printing store, and they sell like, what is it, King Rune, and there was another. I'd have to look. Starts with a Z, I think, but and then some Elegoo stuff. I've been running Polymaker, a lot of the matte finish, polychromatic colors and such. Yeah, I generally they're such a popular printer that the filament manufacturers are providing you, like, if they don't have a profile you can import, they give you the settings that are pretty good.
Yeah, a lot of the filaments are in Bamboo software already. I've been running a lot of Overture, and like I'll just do like generic PETG and run Overture, and it's doing a good job. Now you know sometimes you may need to bump your bed temperature up or down if you start having issues, but I just been running generic settings and letting it roll. Some of the filaments I have found that the Z offset for the support connections, I've had to bump that up to like 0.35 instead of the 0.25 to get a little better clean breakaway from my supports, because sometimes they just hang on a little too much. But now that I've got the X2D, I can actually run the support interface filaments, and it puts that little thin layer of interface in there, and that makes them just pop right off clean, no issues. So Spark 33 saying, I've got 10 rolls of PLA. What other filament should I get? That depends. PLA is a good one to get started with, but it just remember that it doesn't like heat. So wherever you're going to use those things, it's going to kind of dictate what material you need to use. But I use a lot of PETG just because it's a little more forgiving. And like when I ship stuff out or whatever, I don't want to print it out of PLA and then like the mail carrier or the delivery person park their car in the sun or something. And then by the time my package gets there, my PLA has turned into a biscuit. So I typically, anything that I'm shipping out of here, I'll print it with PETG just to try to keep it from melting in the event that it gets left in the back of a mail truck or something and gets hot.
Yeah, it's going to depend on what you're wanting to print and also what printer you have. If you're doing more of the indoor decorative stuff like these chunkables, you're not necessarily going to find all the colors that you can in, the more durable filaments as you can in PLA. So you might want to stick with that for more indoor decorative stuff. But yeah, I definitely, if you're wanting to print some more durable things, generally most of them, the PETG would be the next step. You could look at ASA, but you might need a little more venting with that. And then of course, depending on your printer, you start getting into those higher temp needs. You need to make sure it's enclosed and probably vented properly. Then you can get into some of the others. But if you're just starting out, I would don't go too crazy with the rolls, because you might find one brand is better than another. You might find availability is different for you. You might find your printer likes a certain kind better than others. So get a combination of colors you might want to play with, but I would definitely play with a couple different styles just to kind of get used to their nuances as well.
Yeah. Mark Patterson says storage baskets are great for using up small amounts of filaments. And see, I don't have any small amounts of filaments anymore since I've got AMSs on the machines. Like if I've got like 3 foot of filament on a spool, I'll put it in there, and then I'll go ahead and prep the second roll, load them up, and just set it to when this one runs out, swap to this one. And so I I used to, because you didn't want to start a job, if you knew you didn't have enough filament to finish it. But now with the AMSs, that's one thing that you get that benefit is you can put it on there and say, okay, when this runs out, just swap it to this one. Or if you're going to be around the printer, you can just wait until it pauses and sends you a text and says it's out of filament, and then you can swap it then. So it just depends on your workflow. If you don't have an AMS, then you just wait until it lets you know that, hey, I'm out of filament, and you just swap the roll out and hit resume. So.
Yeah, and I've printed so many storage baskets that I've started, giving them away or even tossing some of them. So I hear you, but
Brian
sometimes
says,
when it gets that low, I just kind of toss the roll.
Yeah, Brian says, Steve, when you're on
Thanks.
Oh, thanks. Click the heart design you've already downloaded. It makes it easier to choose some quickly and to use your monthly download.
Yep. Luckily, there's still plenty of options out there for me. So, and they released a fair number of them. So,
yeah, apparently Tim Arthur is watching us from an airplane. I'm hoping that, or he has he's had a really bad day.
He's done the whole hot air, the helium balloon lawn chair thing. He's got Starlink.
Yep.
Jared Lyons asking, Steve, I was watching your IKEA master video and had a few questions. 1, how are you liking it? 2, can you elaborate on acrylic and air assist? IKEA going to give me the F80 air assist for delay. So, yeah, I dropped a video this week on the IKEA Master CO2. That's a 50-watt CO2 laser. I've had it for quite a while, but there was some delays in shipping and customs, and then because of that delay, it got kind of shuffled around, and there was some shipping damage. So they were sending me some things to get that fixed up and got it back to kind of manufacturer specs. And I was finally able to work with the review. Now, there are a few parts that are supposed to ship towards the end of this month that have been delayed, and that's the riser base and the rotary, both of which the riser base is needed for the rotary, as well as they've got a sling bed style conveyor. So I haven't been able to test those features, and I know a lot of people, when looking at these, they're trying to find what's the balance of kind of an inexpensive CO2 that will do tumblers, and as well as get them into cutting acrylics and some of those, engraving glass maybe that might not be as easy with diodes. So I did run it through a lot of the typical tests I do, and it performed fairly well, as best it can as far as a benchtop style CO2. One of the caveats I've seen in all the benchtop style CO2s is they have an integrated, well, we could call it a chiller, but it's a water temperature management system that's basically a radiator.
Yeah.
So it's not actively
Heat
cooling
exchanger.
it. It's only going to bring it down to as best it can do within the radiant or the ambient temperature. And keep in mind, it's inside the laser, which is going to be a little bit warmer than the air in your shop, most likely. So but that's a caveat of every single benchtop unit that has the integrated one. Now, the Reno series has an external one. So it was either put a bucket of water in there and let the pump circulate it, or actually add some sort of chiller. So that's something to keep in mind with it. It does have and it also has a integrated air assist, but they also have an external port that will bypass that and connect with the F80 air assist. The nice thing about that is it doubles your air output. So it goes from, like, I think 28 liters a minute on up to 60, but also gives you the variable airspeed. So having that extra air is really nice when trying to get clean cuts on, natural materials like wood. It's going to cut down on that staining and vaporization you see on the cuts. Can actually improve the performance of the cut as well. But more so, it keeps it cleaner. And as to your question on the acrylic, So I did do a video on cutting acrylic with the Reno Pro and touched on some of these things. More air isn't always better with cutting acrylic. You want some air to help keep things moving through, but if you're wanting a nice, clean, polished cut, you can force too much air into it, and you want to back that off because otherwise you can kind of cool the cut too quickly, and it gets to be a little more jagged instead of that flame polish. So with acrylic, it's you want just enough air to kind of keep it clean, but not so much that it creates a messy cut. And that's where being able to add that F80 that has the variable speed on it will help you out. Other than that, it's performing well. It works very well in Lightburn. As a matter of fact, I did the camera calibration. I didn't want this video to be too long. And so there were some things I kind of cut out of there that I might address in the future. The camera worked well in both Lightburn and Atom Stack Studio, but I felt the calibration actually was better in Lightburn. It was a little bit more accurate as you got further away from center. Now I did have to download their new pattern. It's not the dot one, but it's a bunch of, almost QR code looking things. And that worked much better. It comes with a knife bed that pops out easily. I don't know. I would imagine they're going to have a honeycomb for it. That's only going to be an issue if you're cutting smaller items. Knife beds really are great if you're cutting larger items. It improves the airflow and it cuts down on the contact points for the laser to the material. So it has a knife bed, and it has, unlike the last laser I reviewed, it has more than 4 bars for that knife bed. So, but yeah, I've got a couple weeks on it so far. I would say, base model, it clocks in right around $2,000. I think it's technically $2,400, but they have, if you use my code right now, you get $300 off not the sale price, but the normal retail price. So I think it brings it down to $2,099 right now. So yeah, for that price point, and I've had some people argue with me that that's not a budget laser. Well, it is a budget CO2 laser. There are cheaper ones out there, but it's getting harder and harder to find a decent one without spending that amount of money to have the number of features. And if there's a couple things I will say that I think would kind of put this over the edge. When I get the riser base and the rotary in, if it works well within Lightburn and allows you to do a wide range of tumblers and sizes easily, it's going to be one of the few ones that will do this well. And I think it'll be about the cheapest one that would natively work with a chuck rotary. Now, Clack did it with the Polar Plus, but that one's a little more expensive than this one. The other thing is they do have an IR module that's an option for it. It's about a $300 option. And y'all know I'm not the biggest fan of IR modules on big gantry machines. Now in Atom Stack Studio, you can by layer say this is CO2, this is IR or red laser. So in theory, you could do an engraving with the IR module, and then on the next layer say, okay, cut with the CO2. The problem is they're offset from each other, and it thinks it's still operating off the main module, the IR one. And so when it goes to cut, it'll fire the CO2 source, but it's offset by a couple inches. If they could work that firmware / software out to where it could actually run the one and then the other in one job without you having to move anything around or rejig it or anything, I think then that would be a bit of a killer for engraving on acrylic, because IR engraves the acrylic really well, gives it a nice white color, at least on the darker ones. But then the CO2 would cut it out very well. So yeah. There's some caveats to it, but so far, once I got it up and running after the kind of the shipping fiasco, it is probably, I would say it's about the physical size of my Reno 45, but it has a bigger working area, and it's probably easier to move than that one because there aren't a bunch of external things with it.
Yep. Spark 33 says, when you do your jigs, are you printing them in PLA? Anything that I ship out of here gets printed with PETG just to make sure it doesn't melt in transit. If it's something I'm using here in the shop, sometimes I'll use PLA, but I'm getting to where I got less and less PLA around here because I don't use it as much. I'm finding now that I've got more than one printer. Like right now, I've got PLA in the P2S, and I've got the PETGs and the ABSs and the ASAs set up for the other machine for the X2D. But no, if I'm shipping something out of here, it gets a harder material than PLA, like I said, because I don't want to have to reprint it and reship it because it's set in the back of a trailer on a parking lot and got too hot or something.
But you definitely can use it. I mean, if it's in your shop and you're going to keep it, out of the sun and out of the heat, you definitely can use PLA.
Yeah, I mean, if it's little like knickknack stuff, like a lot of my boxes and mounts and stuff like that's here, the PLA works fine. It's climate controlled. It's actually prints really good because it's just the qualities of PLA make it really good for printing. So.
Excuse me.
Let's see what we got. Trying to roll through here and find some comments that we hadn't got to.
Well, Rob Wilson's asking, I'm saving up for a 3D printer. What's the big upgrade from the P1S to the P2S? There's a few. The touch screen.
Yeah, I'd go ahead.
The touch screen is one of the big ones. It's far more user friendly on that. The P1S has a little kind of rotary touchpad and like a LCD screen. I might tap it to just check the print status, but usually it's literally from there over to here to check the softwares or even the app. The camera is better on it. I think they changed out the rails, I think, from, was it carbon to steel? And so they wear a little bit better. I think they're not as noisy. There's some. Oh, I think wasn't it something with the air circulation as well?
Yeah, they've added it now to where you can, and it is optional, but you can add a fan, like an exhaust fan / filter fan to it. And so, like if you're printing with like ABS or ASA or something that has, nasty stuff in it, you can actually set the printer so that it keeps the air inside the machine while it's running and just recirculates it through that filter. And then once the print completes, it'll actually still sit there. Like right now, the X2D is doing it. It'll sit there for a few minutes and it'll clean the air before you open the door. So they've incorporated that. The very first, when they first released the P2S, it didn't come with the back panel. You had to like order the upgrade for the fan and everything with a back panel. But now the new ones, when they ship them out, like mine, when I bought mine came with the upgraded back panel. And so I just had to order for $15. I ordered the fan kit and everything, and then had to 3D print the parts and just snap it to the back of the machine. Now I will say the X2D came with all that. Like I didn't have to add it on or anything. So it's not something you have to have. I printed a lot of stuff without the fan and the filter and everything in mine in the beginning, but it does allow you, like for PLA and stuff, that because a lot of folks with the P1S would like open the door or take the top off when they're printing PLA to keep it from getting too hot on the inside. Well, with the fan system on the P2S, it knows, hey, PLA, we need to exhaust that and kind of circulate some air to keep the temperature cooler. But then when it gets to ABS, it'll shut it up and contain the heat. And so the air circulation system on the P2S is a bit of an upgrade for making sure you don't get like elephant foot on your prints or warping or anything like that. It just that interior temperature can be helpful with that. So because I used to hate with the A1, I'd have it in the living room. And if the ceiling fan wasn't on, my prints would be better quality than they were if the ceiling fan was on. because it'd start warping on me and stuff. So my X2 has finished. Let me go grab that.
Lots of 3D printing talk tonight. Tony's asking, will Bamboo Studio work with non-bamboo printers, like making an STL out of a flat pictures? You can design in there, so you can use like their Maker Lab stuff, bring it into Bamboo Studio, and you'll be able to export certain things. So if that's what you're wanting to do, but you can export them as an OBJ or an STL, and then re-import them into your slicer. But I don't know. I'm not. There are a lot of them are kind of built on, Prusa and Orca slicer anyway. So I don't know that I would worry so much about trying to run your printer out of there, but maybe export from Bamboo if you're wanting to use some of their like Maker Lab stuff.
Yep.
But Jack says he's got his old Ender 3 printer in Bamboo Studio. So to some degree, yes, but I haven't tried like running my Flash Forge or my Anycubic out of it. So.
Oh, me. Yeah, sure, Brian. Sure. Brian's up to jokes again today.
There's a few, grays straggling in up there as well. So
Just to say, they're getting there. Still got a little ways to go. Ken says he ended up bringing a 3D printer camping with him. He's going to be doing some printing while he's there.
Said not bringing it.
Oh, I thought he said okay. Never mind.
Yeah, I guess it kind of depends on what you're doing and where you're going. It can be kind of fun, but it can also be a hassle. Depending on what you have for power, on who's with you, and depending on how close you are camping your neighbors and such. So I do have some plans for doing some more kind of remote making or at least remote engraving, to kind of mix up some content between this channel as well as my outdoor channel. But we'll have to see. Timing and weather need to kind of align for that as well. So stay tuned. But yeah, I'm guessing Clack went to go grab something, maybe. I don't run an AMS HT. I just have the original AMS on my printer. But I think Clack just got the new printer that has some stuff with it. You can't drop a question like that and run away.
I had to go outside for a second. Spark 33 says, do either one of you run an AMS HT? I just got one with the X2D. And the reason that I have it is because with the X2D, you can either hook an AMS or if you want to just use the side spool or whatever to the secondary nozzle. And typically, I've done some dual color prints using the secondary nozzle, and it does a decent job. The secondary nozzle is more like the old Ender with the instead of having a direct drive extruder, it's got the detached extruder. So it's a little different as far as like accuracy and modern technology, but it still worked when I did the little Clack Shack logo box over there. Like, Jack's been showing off. I did one of those and I did it with the nozzle and it worked. But the thing that I didn't like and I don't like, I learned from the A1 that in my shop environment where I got sawdust and stuff like that everywhere, the lighter colors like the yellow and the white filaments, if you let them sit there and collect sawdust and then you print something, you'll have like it's almost like little burnt pieces of filament in your print. But what it is from what I can tell, is the dust. As the dust on the spool goes through the extruder, it's causing like clumping and some burning and stuff inside the nozzle. And so after a while, that's why you've noticed lately I don't leave filament on the A1 anymore. That and it absorbs moisture. So by having the HT on the side of my X2D over there, it keeps it dry, it keeps it out of the dust, and it also helps feed that extruder instead of the extruder having to pull from the spool. The AMS HT actually feeds just like a regular AMS2 or AMS does. It feeds the filament to it. So so far it is definitely nice. If you don't need because it will go, and as far as the drying temperatures, it will also go a lot higher than I think the regular standard AMS will. Like, so if you had like one roll of, some kind of nylon or something like that you really needed to keep warm while you were printing, that kind of thing, I think that's probably, a case that I won't be using it for. But I do like having it for the side over here. I've got a mount that I did today, and I shared a picture of it earlier. It's got it basically mounted beside the AMS. Sounds like my other print just finished. No, it didn't. That was the X2 letting me know it finished. Because I've got it set to do the clean the air after it gets through. But yeah. So this is what just come off of the X2. This is Bamboo Lab PLA metal. Watch this thing. Boom. Came loose. So this stuff, it looks nice after you print it. This is a router holder mount for, you can use it for the DeWalt's. Like, you can take the little plastic cover off the DeWalt router and screw it through there with a flush cut bit, and you screw this to your to your table, or clamp it if you wanted to, I guess. But I'm screwing it to the table, and then it makes taking the tabs off really quick. So I was just testing it. I did a little bit of removal of materials to make the print not use as much filament. So I did some hollowing, and I wanted to print another one and just mount it up and test it and make sure that those don't mess with my structural integrity. It shouldn't.
Should make that center hole a little bit bigger for the router bits. Be a little more useful on other things.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you were going to do it with something other than a flush cut, yeah. But I like having it like that for the flush cut because it doesn't have that gap, because especially the one that I've got, it will blow sawdust up in your face if you have too big of a hole here. Because when I was clamping it and using it that way, that was one of the problems I had, was the dust was blowing up in my face. I've actually thought about trying to make like a little dust cone that you could also attach over here, so that it would like connect it to a shop vac or something if you wanted. But it was just something I came up with the other day, because I kept clamping it when I was doing all those hat boxes. I was having to clamp my router and unclamp it, clamp it, unclamp it, clamp it, unclamp it. And I'm like, I'm going to make me something. And so this is what I came up with. This is what I designed. And so far it's working. But it only works with the trim, the thin routers. It won't work with my big Ryobi that I got. This only works with like the DeWalt ones. So, but yeah, I do have the HT over there. But matter of fact, I shared a picture a while ago on Facebook. I share a lot more pictures and stuff on Facebook. If you do Facebook, y'all can go. You can go look at what I share. But let me show you here. Let me find it. Yeah, there's a picture of my X2D right there with the little side saddle with the AMS HT on it right there. That's just a maker's download there. And then this is my P2S. But I've got both AMSs loaded with desiccant. That way, like I can pull the moisture out of them, and I ain't got a fool with worry about moisture for, like last time, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks, as long as I keep the lids closed. I think they're at like 4% moisture right now, 5. Well, the one I just put the PLA in is at 10 right now, because I just put 2 rolls of PLA in it. Anyway. I'm going to put my build plate back in before I forget it.
Just Alan Jones is asking, do you have any information on the OhmTech P2? They are advertising coming soon, but not much more information than that as far as I have seen. Well, I've heard some things, but I'm also not able to really share what those things are because I do want to continue working with them. They are launching that pretty soon. I think they've been really teasing things on their social media about that. I'm just trying to see if they had actually stated a date. I don't know if I don't know if they've stated a date, but it's from what I understand that things are moving to where they hope to launch that soon. And if I understand right, this isn't going to be like a Kickstarter order now and wait months kind of thing. It sounds like they'll have items ready to ship fairly quickly. I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but hopefully some information on that yet this month. Coming soon on that one. We've had, Clack's had the Polar Plus. I've had the Polar Light. Both of them have been pretty decent machines. So kind of excited to see how this new one pans out.
Yeah. Now this build plate, you don't talk about stuff sticking. Look at how this thing's turning into a potato chip. this is the super tack, and the print's not going to come loose from here. You can bend it, and like it'll slowly peel loose. If I don't break my print, you just kind of have to apply pressure and let it sit. It'll slowly peel loose. But man, you can print stuff on this thing. Like it comes loose. Once it comes loose, it's perfect. But look at that back surface. It is slick. Like you have to, like the little purge towers, like you can't just like grab it a lot of times. Well, that one came loose pretty easy. It's PLA, I guess, that's why. But a lot of times I have to have my scraper and get my little purge towers loose. I have to get up under the edge of them and knock them off. But yeah, so got that one done.
Medic 458 is asking, I'd like to get an IR module for my X-Tool P3. Why are you not a fan? Well, it has to do with a couple of things. Most IR modules are relatively low power. And by that, I mean, they're under 20 watts, which, when you're getting into that kind of IR/fiber wavelength, even 20 watts is kind of limiting in what you can do with it. But now you're putting that, now the IR modules have a very fine focus spot size, so they can do some fine detail. But if you're trying to do like a fill engrave, they have to cover so much more ground to fill up the same material. So, it's like having a 10-inch wide mower versus a 20 or 30-inch deck. You just have to make more lines to cover the same area. And then the gantry styles they're slower as far as movement. So while you might think, hey, now I can do these really large items on metal and such, you got to remember this is this tiny little spot size that is going to take forever to fill that in, and they're not powerful enough to do any cutting, so you're really restricted to engraving. I personally will generally do any of those engraving things, or they're probably going to be under 4 inches in kind of square area, and in that size there's a lot of galvo options to work with, and now you're not tying up your big gantry machine slowly engraving an item. The other thing is, if you look at the cost of the modules versus the cost of a low end, even if you go with just another gantry machine. So I think I mentioned this I think I mentioned it in the Adams Tech or the IKEA one. You look at their P1 now, little portable laser. You can get the 5-watt blue diode with the 1.2 watt IR module, and it has roughly a 4 to 5 inch working area for $50 more than the cost of just the module to add on to your other laser. And since they don't register against each other, you're still going to have to do the jigging and the alignment within the bigger machine versus the smaller machine. I'd cut your blanks on the bigger machine, get your smaller machine set up to do other jobs while the other one is still doing other things. I just personally don't see, unless you only have, like, you're bound by some weird law that says you can only have one machine, whether that be space, spousal approval. I would claim you can't necessarily claim budget because the cost between the two is going to be similar. It's just, to me, I don't see where they fit unless you have kind of, one of those weird circumstances. So they're, and that's just my personal feelings on it. In that I think if you're doing enough of this and a lot of it, there are better, faster machines to do it. And putting an IR module, like Atom Stack made an IR module for their Glacier, that big 850 squared. Why? I mean, that's a monster, huge machine when the majority of people are doing smaller engravings with it. So you might have a weird case scenario where you've got, some bigger metal projects and that's the ticket for it. That's awesome. I don't see it a lot. I see a lot of people doing smaller engravings and they can get by with a smaller machine.
Yeah, well, from my perspective, the only case use that I would have for it would be like, say, if you're doing anodized, like I do a lot of the little tags for the front of vehicles. But if, typically I can break that up into 2 or 3 engraves and do it with a Galvo. But like you said, it's kind of like trying to cut a football field with a weed eater. I mean, it's just not that you can't do it. There's just much, much better ways when it comes to metals and stuff like that. I don't like the IR modules either. I like an IR Galvo. I like this little guy right here. I like that machine, but I don't do anything. It would have to be, you'd have to have a product that you knew you were going to be selling that required the big work area, and you had to have an IR before I would say, that I recommend that. So. Yeah, me and Steve kind of agree on that one, because it's like I said, it's like it's like buying a U-Haul truck to haul a bag of potatoes home from Walmart. I mean, it's like you got this big, massive machine, and you're only going to be doing like little things with it.
You don't even have to buy the average person who buys a truck does not need a truck. But yeah, no, and I'm not saying no one should buy them. It's just, for me, I look at those things and go, I'm not seeing the benefit. If they were a lot cheaper compared to similar lasers, or if they, I just the fact that they're so slow at engraving larger things, I just go, yay, if you've got a market for that. But anything that uses up, even a 400 by 400 gantry style laser uses that size. I mean, even those license plate things, which we can't do it here because we have to have front and rear.
Yeah.
I did one of those on the Sculpt Fun, and it took a long time.
Yeah. Well, it's because the dot size is tiny and you can't go real fast because it's a low powered. I mean, it takes a while. Like I said, it's like trying to cut a football field with a weed eater or scissors. So, Mark's asking, do either of you have experience with a Thunderbolt laser engraver? And if you do, how does the quality of the engravings compare to a UV laser? The Thunderbolt does a really good job. I'm not going to sit here and claim that you're going to get the resolution of a UV laser, but it does a really good job as far as resolution. A buddy of mine, Tim, over at CNC Trophy at the trophy shop that I deal with, he has one, and I train his people on it and help them when they run into problems. And I get to run it and play with it every now and then. It is a really good machine for acrylics and tumblers and engraving. It can cut like plywood, 3mm stuff. We've cut some 1/4 inch with it, but it's if you're wanting to do cutting, I don't think that's the machine you would get, because it's just the work area is not that big. But now for tumblers, hat patches, so just small stuff, it does a great job, and it does have a really, really small dot size, so you can get some high resolution out of it. And it is fast. It is blazing fast. If it had a little bit bigger work area, I would love to have one here in the shop, but it's not big enough for a lot of the products that I sell, so I can't do it. Let's see what we.
So I have a bin of parts, plus the red ones that are finishing.
EMT Dave says, "What do you think of the Bamboo H series? They're expensive. I don't have one. I wouldn't mind having one, but they're expensive, and I don't have one."
Yeah. I mean, I know people who have them. They're really happy with them. But yeah, I agree with you. For what I do, I'd invest in multiples of like a P2S or the you know, the if you want, I mean, honestly, Bamboo hasn't come out with the multi-material one that I'm looking for yet. So
yeah. TJ Michael said, "Would you consider the H2C a good buy, or is there a new multi-head printer coming to market soon to wait for?" If you're just wanting multi-head, I think the Snapmaker, the U1, I think is probably bang for the buck. I think they're doing a pretty good job so far. Now, you know, that could change in a few months. You know, there could be a problem or whatever, but so far it seems to be a solid machine. And if you're doing multicolor, I think it's definitely budget compared to the H2C. But now the H2C would be, like I said, if you got the budget for it, I don't doubt it's a good machine. So, and Sparks saying, "Do you use the same nozzle to print all different filaments, or do you have to change it for like nylon?" I don't on my two machines that I have. This is one of the differences in some of the machines that you're going to get. Both of my machines have hardened extruders, and now if I was doing nylon, I definitely would be using the X2C because nylon is going to need some bed heating and other things, a little bit better filtration and all that good stuff. That's what the X2D is kind of built for. But I don't have to change nozzles unless you wanted like an extra fine, like, you know, layer lines or whatever. But for generally, I'm going to run that 0.4 nozzle that's on there, and I might change the slicer profile to, you know, a little more fine or whatever. But I'm not going to be changing nozzles. I don't.
Right.
I have it at this point. Let's put it that way. So.
Look, I'll assemble this while we.
Woohoo! Chat. Are you gluing it, or are you just snapping it together?
No, these don't require any glue.
Oh, that's cool. Let's see here. I'm trying to get through these comments.
You're gonna make me look too.
I'm at 7:49. I'm just scrolling. There's a lot of conversations going on. Well, here's Mark's saying, answer the question, says Spark 33, you only need to change nozzle for their size. Some filaments, especially the fiber additives, need larger nozzle size. Yeah, and now there are a such thing as some abrasive filaments you don't want to use in a standard nozzle. You want to make sure you got a hardened nozzle. There's a standard stainless steel nozzle or brass nozzle, depending on the printer. You definitely are not going to want to run abrasive filaments through that, because over time you're basically gonna bore the orifice on that thing is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger to the point to where it's going to look like toothpaste. So so you have to, if you're using an abrasive filament, you definitely want to make sure that it's not going to chew a hole through your extruder or your nozzle.
Mark is asking, do you guys answer every question or only the ones you want to? We try to get to as many as we can. But we also try to keep up with, you know, chat. If you know, both Clack and I can get a little wordy at times, and we might get a few minutes behind. Sometimes you get into these situations where we scroll ahead, but generally we tell people, hey, it's all right if it's been a few minutes and we've gone down past your question, go ahead and drop it in again. We just ask you not to spam it. We'll try to get to as many as we can. But yeah.
Now we'll give you an answer. Now it might not be the right answer. Now typically we'll either tell you we don't know, or, you know, this is my opinion. or it depends. Those are the three that you're going to get if we can't give you like, because a lot of our stuff is based on our experience and our knowledge of the machines. We are not in any way like the authority on this stuff. We know what works for us. We know what we do and how we do it, and we'll share that with you. And you're welcome to try it, but don't get mad at us if it don't work for you. Because sometimes the things that me and Steve do, like we have different approaches. Like the same job, Steve's going to do it different than I do it. So but that's his way. That's the way he likes it. He's going to definitely like pick a glue that is going to fit the application. I'm just going to go over there and grab something that's sticky. So
I like to do it the right way, and you do it your way.
But no, we're going to answer as many as we can. We can't always get all of them. If we do overlook your question, just throw some like question marks out there or something so we can see it, because we do have a lot of folks in the chat that are here every Sunday night and they talk to each other, and sometimes the comments, kind of run together. So,
well, and sometimes
but that's why we're here.
The community. Sometimes the community answers the question while we're yakking about something else, and so
and we do have to watch.
Nice.
Because you got guys like Jack and Chris and like a lot of you guys out there, Kevin, Santa. I mean, there's a lot of guys in here that probably have more experience with different printers than me and Steve do. I know Jack's got a lot more experience with the new multi-head printer than me and Steve do, because we don't have one. So yeah, a lot of times it's all about the community. It's not necessarily me and Steve that are going to answer your question. The best answer you get may be from Jack, or it may be from Chris, or it may be from one of these other guys that are in here. Like I said, because sometimes we we listen to what they say because we don't know. We don't have that information to share with you. But if we do have the information, we will definitely share it with you. Let me see how my other printer's going. Wait a minute. I got to swap it over. It's still stuck on the other one. Or did it not start? No, it's printing.
So Steve Massey's asking, is it worth it to upgrade from the F1 to the new F2? And that, I think I tried to address this a little bit in my video. If you're a hobbyist and the F1 is working for you and it's doing everything you want, I don't know that you need to upgrade. But if you are doing business with it, or maybe you're taking it to shows and doing on-site engraving, and you find yourself waiting for the F1 to get done while you're waiting and hoping to get moving on the next job, adding the second one, I think it's worth getting the newer F2, because it'll do two things. It'll add a second machine for you that in and of itself gives you redundancy and speed. And it'll also allow you some higher settings, higher power to speed up what you're currently doing. So in those scenarios, yeah, if you're actually finding that you're having to wait on it and you can justify the cost because you're actually going to be more productive and earning more money. If you're just a hobbyist, you got plenty of time. It doesn't really add much of anything that the F1 can't do. It's just a lot faster doing it. And it adds the camera, which gives you a level of, another variant of alignment to play with. It's not necessarily required, considering it has the tracing laser, as well as there's a million jig opportunities out there for it. So
Jack in the Shop says IDC has a way to mark a question. Not sure how they do it. There's a little star button on the comments, but in order to do that, you have to have somebody starring them. And typically me and Steve are the ones talking about it. So it's I just started that one, and Steve can see the little star on his side, but you still have to scroll to see the star. The whole thing in a nutshell is they got 4 people running their live, and we got 2. So, and both of us are in front of a camera. We don't have the behind the curtain people throwing comments.
Trying to put a puzzle together right now.
Yeah. And typically we're either trying to show you guys something or look something up, or it's just, hey, we work it like how we can work it. We appreciate y'all coming. But, yeah, Mark. And some of the filaments too, if you do get a machine that has an AMS system, There are some filaments, and this is what I like about bamboo. Bamboo's good to, like, when it sees that you've loaded a certain filament in the machine, it'll say, "Hey, by the way, you know it could damage this, or it could damage that, or whatever." Some filaments, they don't recommend running them in the AMSs because it will wear the guides and stuff inside the AMS. It can chew holes through your like if you've got the different tubes or whatever, it can chew holes through them. I mean, there's a lot of things you have to consider with the filaments. PLA and PETG, if you're going to print those two, typically any printer on the market is going to be able to handle those without any special needs. But if you start doing like carbon fiber embedded or glass embedded fiber filaments and stuff like that, then you're going to have to start paying attention to that.
Spark 33 is asking, has the UV engravers taken and put the diode engravers on back burner? Not in my shop. They are a nice additive tool, but I think for the average person, they're still a little cost prohibitive for what they can do. And, you know, while they can cut, they're not as efficient at it. Now, it gives it a nice, really clean, really fine point cut. So if you're wanting to do some real detailed stuff without the extra burning, you know, they have their place. They're awesome at marking all sorts of materials. If you're just doing, you know, marking stuff, that's great. But if you want a really dark engraving, it's not necessarily going to be as good at that as, say, a diode. So it's one of these kind of, there's not necessarily one end all be all laser. There are some that can do a lot of things like UV lasers, but they don't always do everything as well as other options out there. So, you know, that being said, I've been playing with mine in the shop a little bit. I do finally have, one of the things I was doing down here today was trying to work with the 12 watt Omni X to try to finally get some stuff going with that. They finally got the correction file, right version of the software that made it fairly accurate. I wouldn't say it's 100% spot on, but it's close enough for engraving work and the crystal work. So, yeah. So yeah, you'll see a little bit more of that.
Yeah, now that I know that you've got yours fixed, I'm waiting on somebody to come over here to help me get mine out of the attic up there, and I'm going to get it down here and get it to working. But I can't be on my knees crawling around up there in that attic space and get it from down here, and that's a little more than Brandy wants. So next time Klein or Bill one shows up over here, I'm going to get them to help me get it down. And I've got a couple other ones that's got to go up.
So
I think about having a yard sale.
So Tony, the closest I've got for you on that is Chewbacca. So I'm kind of at the mercy of the designer on these.
Lance says, is the F2 camera worth it thinking for the curved surface mapping? Now, if you need the curved surface stuff, that, you know, I don't think they haven't added that to the F1 because it doesn't have the capability. But if you need the curved surface, then that might be the thing that makes it worth it. But kind of like Steve said, if you can figure out where it's going to help improve your throughput, your revenue, or you can see where your machine's holding you back, maybe you need to upgrade or add another machine or whatever the case may be. But just be careful, because some people will drive you to upgrade when you don't need to. And there's nothing worse than out there in your shop trying to get your grind on to pay for equipment that you really didn't have work for to start with. That's where I wait until when I get to where I'm sitting in here waiting on a machine to get done. That's when I decide, okay, it's time for something, you know, a little different, a little better to move through the shop. Because if not, then, you know, you're just spending money and trying to figure out how to pay for it in the long run. You need to have a plan on how you're going to get your money back before you spend it. Don't spend it, then try to figure out how you're going to get your money back. Come up with a plan before you spend it. So, Trade Skillers, JR says, is the dual source squeaky you got the G3? If so, what do you think? Yes, this is the G3. So far, I like it. I'm going to be honest with you. It is the only non-X tool machine that I have currently that is set up. I think the Omni X can do it, but this one actually will do the deep embossing You can set it to where after so many levels it drops. The Omni X 10 watt did have it. I'm guessing they still do. They haven't changed that.
Yeah, I was actually playing with that today.
So
it's in there.
Yeah.
It was going too deep in the wood though.
Yeah.
I had to stop the job.
Yeah, I like this machine. The thing that I like the most about it, I think, is the fact that the camera, the machine, everything works, whether you want to use Lightburn or whether you want to use their G-Laser software, it works. Now, their software is a lot like early XCS, I guess you could say, or Xtool Creative Space. It's a lot like that, but it works. It does a good job running their machine. The autofocus, this one does have autofocus. I can't get the autofocus to work in Lightburn yet. I'm still working through that, but I'm okay with using, because none of my other ones really have autofocus. So, but you can lower the 2 dots. It does have the frame and laser. I mean, so far I have no complaints with the G3. So it's done some good work. It needs a light inside it. That's, if I had a complaint, that's my biggest complaint so far, is it doesn't have a light inside there, so it gets a little dark. But if it sticks around, I may add one. Woo, look at that. Yeah, Diamond says hit the like button if you appreciate it. Yeah, we do like likes.
Time to time.
Ken said the same thing. He said, I have the G3, and while I don't have a lot of experience with it yet, so far the only complaint is it could use a light behind the shield. Yes, and like I said, I agree with you, Ken. It needs a light so bad that when I get caught up, I'm thinking seriously about designing myself a like a ring fixture or an adapter or something to be able to mount a light in there, even if it ain't nothing but like some of those USB powered ones, just to get something in there. But I got to get caught up on some other stuff first. Am I caught up? I'm at the bottom of the comments. So if I missed your comment, guys, throw it back up there so we can get to it just in case. But yeah, I'm caught up. I'm at the bottom. Look, there's Sean Klondike. What's up, sir? How are you? Yeah, Lance says definitely have spent money with no plans before and trying to figure out after. It seems to work as well. Yeah, I mean, I don't like that kind of stress in my life. So I try to at least have a plan. Now, I'm not saying everything always goes according to plan, but I try to at least have a logical plan on how I'm going to recoup my money and what that time frame looks like. Now, one thing that I will never do is buy on credit with the tools in the shop. I like I said, I don't need that kind of pressure in my life. Kevin Rich says, with our remodel, I'm thinking about upgrading to Wi-Fi 7. Worth it over Wi-Fi 6. I have 1 gig down and 850 up right now. Have a 2,500 megabytes per second plan. I will be honest with you, Kevin. If you got like a local NAS or something like that where you need high exchange rates, sure. I mean, but I've got Wi-Fi 6 in here, and I can drag and drop video files, and it's fast. So me personally, I mean, if you're replacing it anyway and you can afford the upgrade, go ahead. But I wouldn't be gutting my network to go to it, because you'll find too, what me and Steve wind up having to do is you end up having to set up a legacy network somewhere to be able to run some of these machines, because your router is so much more advanced. And a lot of these lasers and CNCs, they use like old network cards in them that do not like some of the newfangled stuff. So as long as you have the ability to have multiple networks and you can just set you up a 2.4 gig simple network for these things, I think it'd be all right. But I don't, like I said, I got Wi-Fi 6. I think I've got a laptop that'll run Wi-Fi 7, but I don't have a big need for that. When I'm transferring files, a lot of times, like it's literally 5 seconds.
I have a headless Captain America.
Well, you got a skirt? What is that? What you got a skirt on, Captain America? Oh, that's a shirt. Okay. I was like, what in the world? Oh, there you go. That's you right there, because you got more experience with that than I do.
Jeffrey's asking UPE1 printing on stainless steel like on a knife. Some literature calls for adhesion promoter. Have you tried it on much metal or leather with UV? I have tried, so like stainless steel cups. As a matter of fact, I think this is one I had already tried it on, and printing direct to it. I think at best I cleaned it with alcohol, and I didn't even have to soak it in water. It started popping off pretty quickly with just a little bit of rubbing. Now the sticker style, now this seems to be working okay. I haven't like soaked this in water yet to see if that'll make it peel off. So yeah, I would be using at minimum, a really good IPA, 90 as pure of IPA as you can, if not an adhesion promoter on this. Now, mind you, some of these might have a coating on the outside of them since they're, drinkware. They might not be like raw stainless steel. A knife might be a little bit different, but there again, I'd be concerned if it's anything but a decorative knife. It's gonna, even just
even powder coat
in and out of your, yeah, even the just wearing it, pocket knife going in and out of the pocket kind of stuff. I would be a little concerned with. For me, it's really about how smooth and shiny the surface is. Powder coated, if it's got more of the texture, seems fine. If it's super smooth, I don't have a lot of luck with it. So
yeah.
Now leather, I've printed on patches, and as long as you don't flex them too much, they seem to be fine. So even like hat patches, if you could get it onto the hat and have it, be fairly rigid on there, seems to be fine. But yeah, smoother, shiny surfaces really struggle with.
Yeah. Since we brought the conversation up, I've had two people ask me how come I got a blue tumbler today instead of an orange one. And that's wise, because this is actually a recycled tumbler. This had somebody else's logo on it. A company gave it to me as like a promotional thing. And I UV printed myself a Clack Shack sticker and just stuck over the top of their engraving. And so this one's been in and out of the dishwasher, I don't know, 15 times so far. And it's still on there. I did, when I first put it on there, I did like get my fingernail under there and I chipped like the corner of the logo just a little bit, just trying to see how hard it was on there. But since then, I've washed this probably 10 or 15 times and it's staying. That's a Eufy, one of the sticker transfers. This is not printed directly on there. And yes, it is round, but that's what happens when you put it on a cylinder. So, but yeah, that's why I have a blue tumbler. That's a this was a Eufy sticker test print. They keep asking me, ooh, bug. Yeah, they keep asking me about that. Yeah, and this is 3D printed. It's my little cup holders. Man, there's a gnat in here. Kevin Rich said he's just thinking of the future. Yeah, like I said, to each his own, I guess. Like I said, I don't have a need for it. The transfer speeds on 6 is plenty for me.
Yeah, it's tough when talking about technology. I mean, future proofing is a great idea and concept, but you never know if they're going to lag or make another leap. I mean, I see it a lot with people, with like laser companies and such. They'll come out with a model, it'll get pushed, and all of a sudden, oh, but wait, we've got this one that adds this cool feature, and then we've got that and that adds that cool feature, and or now we've got the budget one which had everything you wanted, but it's $500 less because it's missing that one feature. you got to kind of look at what you need now,
Yeah.
and what you're happy with spending, and make those two things jive. I would never go off of, well, I might need this in the future, because you might not, and or they might add this feature in the future, because they might not. You got to make sure that what you're getting here and today, you're happy with the price and it meets your needs to here and today. Anything above that is kind of just gravy and or disappointment.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of things out there. You just got to figure out, is it worth the expense for the upgrade to you? And if it is, hey, go ahead.
Doing the eyes is sometimes one of the most annoying thing, is trying to figure out which parts to which side.
Yeah.
They all come off different build plates and end up in a big mess in the bin. So
Let's see what we got going on over there. Hang on. Look at that. Got the red layer going down. It looks more orange in the camera for some reason, but it is red.
Mick says, I've been impressed with the UV one so far. The UV DTF decals are easy to print and seem to hold up well. They do. And as long as everything's running fine, they are fairly easy to print. I will say, if you're doing a large batch of stickers, it's maybe not the best thing, but that's kind of that device in general. It's great at customizing a handful, where doing a larger run in a different technology might not make sense. So yeah, I'm happy with it. My whole thing is, I don't use it day in and day out. So I try to stock up the things, like, okay, I have my personal things I want to print. Maybe someone has an order that they want me to do in the near future. So I try to make sure I have a number of things that I can get the printer out of maintenance mode, run all the stuff, use it up as much as I can in that session, and then let it go back into its kind of idle maintenance mode, because that is where you're going to use up a lot of your white ink and your cleaning fluid, is those cleaning cycles. So I try to, or the deep purging cleaning cycles anyway. So I try to like use it heavily in spurts, because I don't have enough to keep it constantly busy where I'm printing. I mean, I could, and I've tried to do that, to where, like, oh, I got to print throw a small thing on there once a day, but then you forget, and then it goes into, its cleaning cycle, and you're like, oh, shoot. So that's what I kind of tell people, is that it is a great technology. It's very fun. It's very cool. They've made it a lot more approachable, but there are a lot of caveats to, the ink it's only good for so long. It's got a shelf life to it. So you got to be able to use up the volume of ink within that time period. And if, the maintenance is important, because if that ink gets clogged in the lines or in the print head or whatnot, it can be expensive to, get those parts back up and running. The print head on these things, they are eventually a consumable item, much like your laser module or your CO2 tube is. It's not something you're going to replace, every month, hopefully, as long as you take care of it, use it right. But, that in and of itself is like a $600, hey, it's time to replace this kind of thing. So it's something to keep in mind when considering that.
Yeah. Santa says, speaking of Leap, you guys see anything coming for diode enclosed lasers? I have decided that is next, and think it will be an alien cell, but we're at least 6 months out. The alien cell's not a bad machine, but I mean, there's lots of them out there. It depends on what your needs are. I said, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of impressed with this little guy. I mean, I don't know what the price point is. I haven't looked at it that heavily, but like LaserPecker has actually stepped it up, and it has a lot of the same features the Alien Cell has, and both of them kind of drew a little bit of inspiration from an X-Tool S1, in my opinion. But they've added cameras, which is a big plus. So, there's options out there. It depends on how big you want it to be.
So the basic 20-watt laser on that is $1,400. The 40-watt is just under $2,000.
I don't remember how much the X1 is.
But the The riser base,
$17.99.
the riser base and rotary for the X1 should be coming out. I think Rich said this month. So
yeah,
that'll be kind of nice.
Yeah, they mentioned sending me the air filter on it, but I told them I was like, as much as I would love to, I can't really give it no more space under the table like that. And I've got mine vented right behind the machine, and I really don't, I would rather just keep venting than have the air filter. But yeah, I've heard they've got the rotary and the extension coming.
If I could get the air filter, I would strongly consider replacing my S1 down here in the basement shop, because I have that one hooked up on the AP2.
Yeah. That'd be great for your situation. Yeah. Apparently Kevin got home and had a bunch of flies in his car because somebody left a peach. That'll get you. That'll get you. They find that stuff, man. You leave some fruit laying around and they'll find it. That's probably what happened in here. I probably dropped a piece of a cucumber or something.
I will be right back.
I'm trying to go through these questions. So if y'all got one, drop them out there. Auditing Arkansas says, Clyde, what build plate do you recommend for the PS2? It depends on what you're going to be printing, first of all. Different materials, you can't use certain build plates. That super tack that I just showed you a minute ago, the one that like it peels loose, if you're printing PLA and PETG and you don't like want to have to worry about getting like, sometimes if you do your 3D printing, like the edge will peel up a little bit, you end up getting like that little elephant foot look on your prints and so forth. So far the P2 with the super tack has been awesome for PLA and PETG, and I don't think you can use it for ABS. I think you have to go up. I think if you're going to be printing ABS, I think you have to go up. The super tack, this is the cool plate super tack, and this one, like for PLA and PETG, this thing rocks. Now it's a little, like I said, when you go to get stuff off of it, you have to bend it, and then you may have to take your scraper and kind of like, wedge it up off of it. But the one thing that you don't have to worry about is in the middle of your print, something popping loose because you got a little cool spot somewhere and your print popping loose. You don't have to worry about that. And the print, the plate sticking to the print as much. Also, when it starts cooling, you saw how earlier this plate would like draw up like that when the print was cooling. When it holding on to the print like that, it kind of helps. It seems like it helps level out like the constriction when it's cooling off. So I've been using these continually with the P2S. This will work with the X2D also, but so far, I guess it's because of the chamber heating on the X2D. I'm getting good hold down and good release on my prints using the textured PEI plates. So I've just been running them on the X2D. But I was having some problems with PETG. It would be sticking in like one spot would be so stuck that I'd have to scrape it off with a scraper. But then the corners occasionally would come up a little bit. And I think that's got something to do with the bed plate, the bed heating on the P2S. But yeah, I love this. I love these things. I got two of these. I got two of these, and I got two PEIs that are for the P2S. But now I put the PEIs are all over on the X2D, and then I got the super tacks on the P2S. Let's see. Not yet, Chris. I try not to bend them too much. I'll try to go like maybe to right there. I try not to go too far. If you're having to bend it too much, I think that's a bad thing. Any kind of even spring steel has its limit. So I don't want to have to. These things ain't cheap. So If I bend it, like I'll bend it all four corners, and like I guess there's technically 8. Like because you got this, you got the X, and then you got that, and then all the corners. If that don't work, I just grab a scraper and pop it up. But these things, and when you print, whatever you print with these, the cool thing is that's the finish that you get. That's it's smooth, so you don't have the texture, which some people may like the texture. Me personally, I kind of like some prints to have the smooth edge, especially if it's gonna like if I'm printing it to where that edge is gonna be exposed, it's gonna be looking different than the other edges. So, but I like these so far.
Jake Briley's asking, just getting into 3D printing, what, if anything, would you say I need to watch for or learn? Purchased my first one today, used. Well, hopefully you got a decent one and didn't get someone else's problems. Because I've seen that before where people, you try to get a good deal and you inherit someone else's problems. But that being said, most of them can be fixed. I mean, they're fairly rigid machines. That sometimes it's just something was not assembled right. So once you can verify it's working right, I would say, the maintenance is kind of key. And one of the biggest things with most modern 3D printers, the build plate adhesion is just really more about having a clean build plate. So if you're just starting out with PLA and you've got a clean plate or a fresh, like brand new plate, give it a good scrub down with some, like just some Dawn dish soap, and then let it dry. Make sure you get all the soap off of it, rinse it off. I like to rinse it off with as hot of water as I can, get all the soap off, and then that kind of heating up the plate helps dry it off. And that will help your adhesion right away. But then it's, there's a lot of, you can find calibration cubes and things like that. Those are kind of easy to run and kind of see how it's going. A lot of people like to print out the benchies, and that might tell you some things. We've got some friends who hate benchies, so they don't print them out either. But don't worry about like editing things and making your own stuff. Just kind of find some known good models out there and print them out and see how your printer's doing. But then pay attention if you're getting things like stringing or weird layer lines or you're getting seams that aren't or layers that aren't adhering. Kind of try to take note. And if you jump into a group asking for help, make sure you add your photos of what you're seeing and your printer type and any settings you've used. That'll help out. There's a lot of people out there that are happy to help, but the more information or the right information will help them kind of help you diagnose it out as well.
Yeah. Mark says, can the TAC build plate be used on the X1C? And according to Bamboo Labs, you can get it for the X1 or series or the A1 series machines. Like I said, they're not cheap. It's like $35 for that particular build plate. I know there's some folks that offer different ones cheaper, but I can also tell you that with the P2, it looks at your build plate and it scans a QR code on it, and it'll tell you if you don't have the right one in there. It'll tell you if it's not compatible with the filament. I mean, the machine is really smart. Mike Holden said, Santa, go to the next level event later this summer. It's a great opportunity to meet up. Yep. Mick, me and Steve will be there as far as we know. That's the plan. So if you guys are coming, I'm going to be bringing something with me too. We're going to do a pre-registered giveaway. And the reason I want it to be a pre-registered giveaway is so that, it's the guys that know who we are before we go are the ones going to be registered. And then I'll basically just bring it with me to the event if you're capable of taking it back with you. It'll probably be something big enough that you're going to want to have a car. You're not going to want to be trying to put it in your luggage. So take that into consideration. Maybe I'll have some small things like some T-shirts and stuff like that for you guys that are flying or whatever. But If I bring a machine, it's probably going to require the use of an automobile to transport it back home. You're not going to want to try to check it in your luggage.
Or you're going to be spending a good bill with the local FedEx shipping, you know.
I mean, you could do that, I guess. Yeah. Put it on a freight truck, get it to you. So, yeah, but we do plan on being there. So,
yep.
Mark said he's going to be there. So, yep, share the word. Yeah, EMT, the Super Tac, it's pretty much says on it PETG and PLA. So that's kind of the thing for it. Yeah, PLA is definitely somebody saying that they would recommend start with PLA. PLA is definitely like the easy button when it comes to filaments, in my opinion. And if you're using it indoors and it's not going to be getting hot, PLA holds up good. Like I've got some stuff I printed with PLA that's been with me for a long time, and it still works. But just don't leave it in your car on a hot summer day, because you'll come back and it'll look like a piece of candy.
Definitely can.
Now, Mark, if you've got a Bamboo Lab machine, like I said, it'll keep track of what build plate you have installed, and it'll tell you. Especially with the P2 and the X2, they both will like tell you got the wrong build plate in. QR code not detected. Now you can tell it this is the type build plate it is and continue, but it will tell you, hey, you need to check your build plate. I found that out because I was trying to use an A1 build plate with my P2S before I bought extra build plates, and I had to do that because it did not recognize that it was a PEI plate, and it prompted me to specify the type build plate was installed, which is good because, if you're new, especially, those are little things that might keep you from having a really bad day on your printing.
Jerry Richmond commenting that my impression about DTF printers, my wife has one, is that they are more in the category of commercial machines than home hobby machines in terms of maintenance required and problems. Yeah, and traditionally they have been. You're starting to see some things like the X-Tool apparel printer. You've got the Eufy Make E1 where they're trying to bridge that gap with some more automated maintenance, but with that comes some of its own problems. But in and of that, you kind of have to have that expectation of, planning around that maintenance or working with it, understanding that it's not just, I'm going to set this thing to the side and then pull it back out and it'll work fine. You kind of have to go into it with that mindset that, yeah, these aren't as simple as some of the other machines we've got in our shops. So it's definitely a good point to kind of consider them a little more commercial than hobbyist. And I've tried to express that with some of the Eufy stuff is tempering, like, yes, this is a very cool tool, and if you can keep it busy, it's great. But if you're an occasional user, you might run into more headaches and expense than it's worth.
Yeah, that's been my thing. I've even advertised it, and I've done a few jobs with it, but it's not to the level right now of my laser work, and so mine does spend a lot of time just sitting over there idle. And like you said, these lasers, when they sit here idle, I mean, it's, the CO2, you could argue that the tube needs to be ran, blah, whatever. The CO2, there is an issue with it sitting still, but like with the diodes and the galvos, pretty much, other than collecting dust, there's not a real problem with them setting still. But with the Eufy or with any of the UV printers, there's maintenance associated with not being used just as much as there is with it being used. So yeah, it's definitely something to consider. I like the machine. I love what it can do, but I'm like you. It's if you're a part-time shop operation or whatever, it's going to be a little harder to justify it in the long run.
Well, it's like the DTF transfers that I've done, like this one for my shirt. Yeah, I could get a DTF printer and print my own, but the maintenance on it, if I'm not using that regularly, it's far better for me just to outsource that work. And, so you can order just the transfers and I can still make the shirts kind of as needed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something to consider, it's something to balance.
Yep. Mick said he's driving up from Houston, so he's all set. I just dropped a link to the Next Level Maker event. Like I said, it's not an affiliate link. It's not. I don't get nothing from it. I'm just letting you guys know that is the event. Like I said, Steve and I both plan on being there. It's in Texas, Grapevine, Texas, which it's right outside Dallas, right? And so we plan on being there. It's a like 3-day event, I think it is. Lots of
Thursday through Saturday.
Lots of companies and everybody going to be there. Me and Steve are going to be there. I'm going to be doing a lot of socializing, not a whole lot of going to classes. I may dip into a couple of them. Who knows? But for the most part, I plan on just being there for the networking, to meet some of the companies and some of the companies that I've worked with already, some of the ones I might not work with yet, but and meet some of you guys. We will be having a get-together, meet and greet, whatever, however we can set it up. But if you're going to be at the event every day, of course, you're going to have an opportunity to see us because we'll be there. And we're not going to be as busy, but we may even try to have like maybe one night we could all, like everybody that watches the Sunday Night Lives, we could all partner up and we can go get something to eat and take a picture and just have a good time, just hang out. I think it's going to be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be driving over, so that's going to enable me to bring, a CNC or a laser or something. It may not be a newest, latest, and greatest, but I'm sure I can find something that I need to get rid of.
Yeah. Speaking of events, there's an event coming up June 20th at the Burnsville, Minnesota Rockler, and a friend of mine, Mark over at Gunflint Designs, has been invited by Rockler to go up there, and he asked me if I wanted to come along as well. I don't know specifically the times. I'm guessing it's going to be kind of in the morning to midday. So I'm hoping to find that out here within the next week, because this is literally in 2 weeks. So, but yeah, I am planning on being up there. Like I say, it's the Twin Cities, the Burnsville Rockler up in the Twin Cities area of Minnesota, on the 20th, for whatever this is. So if you're up there and you want to hang out for a bit, I should be up there. If you haven't been there and you like to do some woodworking stuff, it's a good shop, and they are the store that get a lot of the online returns and they put it in their outlet center. So, someone gets it and it's got a scratch on it and they send it back, and then it goes there for, 30-40% off or such. So it's a fun store to look at, see what they have for some of their online returns, and you can get some good deals on some stuff. So, I'll check in with that and find out a little bit more, probably, follow up next week with that as well. Otherwise, yeah, I'll add some of that to like my Facebook page as well. So just something that came up this week. I thought I'd let people know if they're in the area, want to meet up, I should be there.
Yeah. I see where Gordy's asking is any events in Missouri. The only thing that we've got coming up in the first week of July, I'm going to be headed to Minnesota. I'm going to spend a couple of days up there at Steve's place, and we're going to try to have a little get together or something that, probably it'll be Monday, probably, that maybe we can have a little get together, or Sunday. Well, no, Sunday I'll be driving. So,
Sunday we got this.
Yeah. So,
yeah, we got to get that.
I don't know exactly what we're going to be doing yet, but we're going to try to figure that out. So,
well, hopefully we can get that locked down, and I want to try to put together some sort of little sign up for it so we get an idea in numbers that'll help me. I'm trying to make sure we have an option. There's some very cool outdoor options that hopefully the weather's nice and we can hang out there. If not, I want to find a backup option of somewhere to meet that's indoors. Yeah, chances are there's going to be some shop clearing door prizes available. So
yeah,
we'll figure all that out. I mean, again, that's 4 weeks away, so it'll be coming up quick. But yeah, we're going to try to do try to do a gathering, plan on it being most likely going to be the late afternoon of this Monday the 6th. So it'll be the day after the live stream, 2 days after the 4th. Yeah, it'll be kind of low key gathering, but like I say, it'll be a good opportunity for me to clean some things out of the shop, some machines that maybe some of you that want to make the trek or in the area. We'll see what we can do. So
yeah. I told Brandy I think I'm gonna create me a yard sale here in the next little while. I was sitting here today. I've got a Ryobi scroll saw sitting over there that I think I used 2 or 3 times, and then I got lasers and CNCs and everything. And I know for a fact I have not moved that scroll saw other than just moving it from place to place to get to stuff. I haven't used it, I know, in 4 years. And so I need to go through this shop and some of the things that I don't use. I just need to have me like a yard sale, put them on Marketplace and be like, hey, porch pickup, here's what I got. This is what I want for it. So that's what I need to do that in the next little while.
Well, and I've been looking at some of that too, because this week, well, even this weekend and going into this week is reminding me that I need to add some air conditioning to my shop. So it's really nice to offset it.
Yeah, maybe you can liquidate some machines and tools and stuff and get air conditioning.
Yeah. So, but we'll see. Like I say, I'm going to be doing some giveaways at our meetup up here for sure. So, David Pingle is asking, how's the compatibility of Alien Cell and Lightburn? Pretty good. I'm trying to think if there are features that don't translate well.
The actual live tracking of the module doesn't show up in Lightburn, like where the crosshair moves in the screen.
Right. Yeah.
Unless they've added it. I haven't used Lightburn with it in a while because their software is good enough that I've been using their software.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't used Lightburn with it.
Yeah, both them and the Laser Pecker LX2.
Wasn't there an issue with the air assist? Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wasn't in Lightburn.
I almost want to say that was kind of machine specific, but
okay. But you
don't have it's all or nothing.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That. Whereas in the software you can set the kind of I forget, it's like the percentage. So there are some features you miss, and like David said, I pretty much use their software for running it at this point. I might design another and then just import it, but I mean, it's you don't have to pay for their software. So if you're used to Lightburn, do everything you need to in Lightburn, but then maybe export it, drop it into their software and set it up. And then you get, the really good live view, you get the variable airflow, things like that. But yeah, both them and the Laser Pecker LX2 work fairly well. There's just some like minor things that don't function. So.
But yeah, their software is not terrible. So.
Carrie says, get rid of all the heat producing machines, then maybe you won't need the AC. Unfortunately, I went out there today and it was already 75 degrees in there and there was nothing on. So, yeah, and that's also why I wasn't out there tonight, because I'd be the lights and the computer and everything would just be heating it up. So.
Scared me. I looked at that camera and it looked like it had a white crust on top of my print, but that's just a glare. I was like, what in the world is that on my print? It's just a glare. You just can't you can't tell it from here, but it's just reflection, I guess, of the glass or something. But that's going to be the other side of this sign right here. Each side, like this one's like eggs in stock. And then the other side is going to be eggs out of stock. Like one's green and then the other one's going to be red. And instead of trying to make this effect, and have, supports or whatever, I decided to just infusion. I dropped myself a midline in there and split it into 2 pieces. And I'm going to take, and I'm guessing for this, CA glue would be the ideal glue to put my red and my green one together back to back with this smooth surface. Am I correct in that, Mr. Glue Guru? Obi-Wan Glooby?
Yeah, you should be fine.
All I needed to do is stay together where you can flip it from one side to the other. Because they've got an old wooden sign right now. And so I'm making 3D printed one.
I mean,
It is
yeah.
Pet G, so I figure maybe it'll last a couple of years before it bleaches out. It's kind of in the shade under a porch. So I think it'll be okay. But I don't have like green and white and red ASA, so this is what I got. Keith said the glue guru. Glue. Hey, that's him right there. If you got questions about glue, send them to ventari@gmail.com.
Just don't ask me if I've used the Hobby Lobby glue yet, because I haven't.
Oh, you hadn't? Oh.
No, I haven't. It's down in my basement shop, and I just haven't had a need for CA glue down there yet. So I got to do a project here coming up with it. So
yeah,
I'll figure out something.
I saw somewhere earlier somebody asked about the new. I think they were trying to say the new A1 basically. Was it A2L or A2AL or whatever they're calling it? What we knew about
A12.
that. And all I can tell you is I've watched some videos. It's a A1, but bigger. And I know they have made some advancements in some of the way it's built to try to offset. There it is. To try to offset some of the issues that come with bed slingers of that size. But I don't have one, so I don't. Bamboo typically makes a good machine. I mean, I'm hoping that they would continue to do that. But if you had it in the right environment, and you're just doing PLA and Pet G, and you want something that's capable of printing bigger, then that might be the way to go. It's a lot cheaper than the H series.
Well, and it also adds in they've got a blade cutter and then like a pen holder for plotting if you want to do that too. I mean, so it's slightly modular with some things that might make sense for that. But yeah, the concern that I would have there is the amount of space front and aft that you got to have. You're kind of committing a fair amount of space to it.
Yeah. But, because that big bed's got to come forward and it's got to go backwards. So
yeah,
it's the bigger you make the bed, the bigger the footprint gets.
Yep,
for sure. Like I said, I'm pretty happy with my setup right now. So short of somebody offering me to look at a machine, I'm not looking at changing anything right now. The only thing I may change is I may put the A1 somewhere else, not out here in the shop, because one, the humidity is a little higher out here than it is inside the house. And two, the dust just collects on the spools of filament and creates issues, as well as the bed and, all the things. So I'm probably going to move it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. It may wind up in my yard sale. Who knows? But as of today, I haven't used it. I used it for a little while after I first got the P2 because I was behind on orders and I was having to catch up. But lately, the P2 has, it's been my go-to because the spaghetti detection and all that on it, it's great if you ever have an issue. The only issue I had a couple of times where before I got the sticky plates, I had a couple of supports that broke loose while it was printing and caused a bit of an issue. But the P2S paused itself and sent me a message and was like, hey, you might want to look at this. And so I was able to catch it before it become a mess. And I like that. The A1 does not do that. You'll come out here and it'll look like a bowl of spaghetti got dumped in your machine. So I do like the spaghetti detection and all that on these other machines. It's a lot more dependable to me.
Rob's asking, is that an A1 you had running in the back of your office? And yeah, I have the A1 with the AMS light, and then I've got the P1S with the original AMS and the Sunlu dryer box heater on it. and run those quite a bit. And then over here we've got the FlashForge 85X that I don't use as much, but it works well for like if I need to do TPU, or I've done some multicolor stuff with that one as well because it has the 4. I only have actually I only have 1 spool sitting on there because I've been drying some stuff. But yeah, those kind of work well in my shop. Those are the 3 that I've got going right now. I do have an Anycubic Cobra S1, but that's kind of like been given over to the family to play around with. It works well. I had to do some Z offset, the first layer Z offset tweaking with that one. I think I had to put it like 0.1 millimeter up because it was digging into that first layer. But once I got that dialed in, it's been working pretty well as well. But yeah, those are the kind of the current printers I have.
So you've only got 3 that you're actually using?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's why you said that the other day. Okay. For some reason, I was thinking you had way more than that. For some reason.
Nope.
Well, but you technically still have 4. Technically.
Sure.
Well, shoot. I guess technically I still got to enter 3 too, don't I?
There you go.
Okay, we're gonna quit talking about that. Hashtag Steve gets all the cool toys. We're gonna change the subject now on that one. But yeah, this is the X2D is my 4th 3D printer so far. 4th different one too. So it's like each one has been a different machine.
Yeah, no, I mean I've had others. There's that. But yeah, currently in my house there are 4 printers, 3 of which I actually use. So
yeah, I've only got 3 in my possession right now.
Jerry's asking, what's the strongest glue you can use on a kid's hard plastic toy where a piece snapped off and I want to reattach it? I don't know the type, but it's not the rubbery type plastic, not porous. I guess, there's a number of things that it depends on that one. There are some glues that you can use like or there's some plastics where you can use more of a plastic cement and that'll actually weld them together. And so it'll actually dissolve a little bit of each side and then refuse them together. So that's kind of the best kind to use. Not knowing exactly what kind it is, there's certain glues that'll work well, but if they are kind of a more nylon base, there's some like epoxies won't hold to that very well. You need to get kind of like a special epoxy and such. CA will kind of stick to some of those, but if they don't have like a porous structure that they can grab into, it's a crystalline glue, so it kind of wants to grab onto something. It doesn't really it cures, it doesn't really dry, and so it forms this crystalline structure, so it has to have something to grab onto as well. So there are some specialty glues that I might personally use, but again, it's going to depend on, is this kid ever going to stick it in their mouth? And if that's the case, definitely not. So I don't know. There might, you might, if you can rough it up a little bit on the mating surfaces without destroying it to where it won't join. I might use like an epoxy there. If you can, maybe depending on if you can get on the inside or outside of it. Sometimes I'll reinforce that with just a little bit of like a patch of something on the side that you won't see as much. That'll give it a little more to adhere to. Otherwise, if it doesn't need to be rigid, I would go with like a contact cement. That will stick more to some of those surfaces, but it's not going to be like hard. It'll be like a soft, hard kind of joint that has a little bit of give. So I don't know. I feel like I didn't really help you there, but there's some ideas.
Yeah. Mark Patterson says if anything goes wrong, major goes wrong with my X1C, I'm replacing it with a P2S. And as long as you're just wanting PETG and PLA, I've had really good luck with the P2S. But if they don't change the prices, I'm going to be honest with you, it's like $100 difference between the P2S and the X2D, and it's $100. So I mean, yeah, there is a difference. But I haven't noticed. I mean, I think the X2D, they claim that they've changed the belt drive system out just a little bit over the original X1. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know. If you have the extra $100 to go ahead and get the X2D, I don't think it's a bad decision. The secondary nozzle is not something that I'm going to use a lot, but it was kind of handy the other day. I was making Jack kind of like roped me into making one of those little backlit things, and I ran it on the machine using the two nozzles, and it was pretty cool because what I did is I put the white in the auxiliary nozzle and the black in the main nozzle. And so when it had to switch from black to white during the print, all it does is it goes back in the back corner back there and it shoves itself up against a post in the back of the machine, and it manually flops from one extruder to the next. And so it's kind of like having, multiple heads, but you actually only have the one head. So it was pretty neat the way it worked. Like matter of fact, I think this is where it was going to do a filament swap. So you can kind of see what happens is when it finishes with that layer of white, if this is in the end of it, let me see if this is the end of it. No, that's still doing white. Okay, I must have missed it. That's when I was trying to catch it swapping. Okay, and here we're back doing white again. But when it goes back to the back corner back there, it basically shoves itself into a post and causes the module to flip. And I don't know what was going on right here, but I had a little drizzle. I wound up pausing it and knocking it off of there. But that's the only thing that I've seen is occasionally I would get some beading on the nozzle. It never caused a problem with the print. It just like I wound up with little BBs of filament in there. I think what it is, I ended up having to go back and recalibrate that nozzle because it doesn't. I don't think it doesn't automatically calibrate that one like it does the main nozzle. So there's some caveats to having that secondary nozzle. It's not the same as a multi-tool head machine. It lends itself to some of those characteristics, but it is not the same. But it will do multicolor in a pinch. It's like I said, it's just you're not going to have the same results as you would with, say, the H series machines or whatever. So we'll see. Like I said, I'm still getting used to the machine, still learning things about it, still trying to figure it out. So we'll see how that goes.
I think for me, outside of a multi-tool head printer, the one that I'd kind of like to play with is they now have the new Centauri Carbon 2. And so it's a multi-filament, but it has to do the purging and the swapping. The Centauri Carbon, we know a lot of people have had some good luck with that. The 2 kind of combines a lot of the features that people have been asking for and such in there, and it's under $500.
Oh, really?
So yeah,
well, that's not bad.
So that's one I'm kind of keeping my eye on as far as if I want another. Like I say, I kind of want the next one to be just a multi-tool head printer to play around, see if I find it's useful. But as far as a non-bamboo budget printer, I'd kind of like to try this one out and see how it compares to, the Flash Forge and the Anycubic, see where it might rank in there as a quality, but maybe budget-minded printer.
Yeah. PRK33 said price from the P2S to the X2D is the reason I went with the X2D, even just starting out as a newbie. Like I said, if you have the money in your budget, I don't think it's a bad thing. Even if you never use the secondary nozzle for anything, you do have better chamber heat. You have chamber heating. You do have a little bit better drive system as far as the belt system and stuff. And some of the steppers, I think they use a different kind of stepper. Is it servo steppers rather than anyway? Don't let me get too far on a rabbit hole because I've been researching several different machines, but they did upgrade, according to them, they did upgrade the drive system a little bit. And so you do get the option of having the heated chamber, which does help. Even with PETG, it keeps the parts from cooling too fast. PLA on the P2S, you don't have a problem with overcooling typically. But I think for the money, if you have the money in your budget, from what I've seen so far, at first I was kind of like, I didn't want to beta test a machine, but when I got it and looked at it, it's like a lot of the stuff is just, they took the P2 and they swapped out a few parts basically. And the parts that they swapped out were good upgrades. So far I'm pleased with it. So yeah, I think for another $100, I mean, the bed heater alone, or the enclosure heater alone, I think is worth the $100 upgrade, even without that secondary nozzle. Even if you never use that nozzle, I think having the ability to do the bed heating for like ASA and some of the higher temperature filaments, especially, I think is a big deal. So I don't use those filaments a whole lot. I have a roll of ASA, but I really haven't had a situation to where I felt the need to use ASA over ABS or PETG. So we'll see. I start making stuff from my boat. Maybe I find a need where I need it, for the UV resistance or something. So we'll see. Well, why is my mouth's not working? What the heck? Okay. I can't do nothing with the comments for some reason.
Oh, that means I can do things like this too. And you can't fix it.
All right, well, I don't see what you did. Something's up with my browser or something.
All right, which one of you hacked Clack? Oh, there he goes. All right. Well, let's see here. Jerry, you got to follow up. The plastic toy would not go in the mouth. It's an internal part that broke and holds the devices together. Yeah, I mean, if you've got any sort of rough surface on there, I'd probably just try an epoxy, like a 2-part epoxy. If there's any way you can maybe add like a like I use a thin fiberglass cloth, but you could even use like just some regular cloth that can add just a little bit extra stitching. You kind of lay that onto the surface if you have space. I don't know if it's like a tight fit or not, but I would probably go with that and see if you can get that back together. So, but other than that, oh yeah, hot staple tool for repairing plastic parts. If you've got enough space, yeah, I've seen those work where it kind of somewhat welds it and then adds like a physical joint. But yeah, you got to have enough space for those to work out. So, and Chris says, I hope when go to the local store, they don't have a CC2 in stock. They might just end up with another 3D printer. Yeah, it's one, been keeping my eye on a few of those when people ask about, these kind of what's a good budget entry level, and knowing that not everybody, not everybody's an Apple fan, for phones. And so you look at Androids, the same thing with like Bamboo. Not everybody likes the printers or likes the company. And so they sometimes like to have another option. So I always like to try to get as much exposure as I can to work with them, but not always possible for sure. So anyway, I think Clax, he says he thinks his ISP just dropped, so he might have some rebooting to do and such, but we're about 13 minutes over, so I think we're going to wrap it up here. Thanks everyone for coming out for another Sunday Night Live. We'll be doing it again next week. Keep an eye out for additional videos. Appreciate everybody liking and commenting on all those. That definitely helps out. And be sure to check out our alternate channels as well. He's got the Clackleys. Oh, he made it back. And I've got Vintari Outdoors. So other than that, any final words? I was just going to kind of close it out for us.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I guess my ISP decided to reset some stuff or something, because it just froze up and kicked me out. Yeah. No, that's about it. Yeah, I was just glad to see that my computer didn't die, because I just knew my mouse went unresponsive, and then all of a sudden, gone.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will be back at it again next week. Otherwise, stay tuned for additional content, and check the other socials like Facebook and Instagram for behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll be back here next Sunday at 7 p.m.
Yep. And stay tuned this week for some laser pecker blue diode action with this new machine over here because I got to get that knocked out this week. So y'all have a good one.
See you, everyone.